Welcome my friends, it's so good to see you again. Welcome back to my channel, Belinda here, as you probably already know, but a warm welcome if you're new. My name is Belinda and this is Visualized NZ. I'm going to work today in this video on my design team project for Rach and Bella Crafts. Really excited by this. I have made a prototype of what I'm going to make, so I'm not winging it like I would normally do. Because I really needed to work it out first, and my idea, it's awesome, if I do say so. So I'm working with this Shades of Spring kit from Rach and Bella Crafts, so that's the title page. I'm just going to pop that aside, and I have already pre-cut out all of the journal pages. So the project I'm going to be doing is not a journal, but I'm going to be making journal pages. I don't know what to call them. They're interactive, I don't know. If you can come up with a name once you've watched the video, let me know, and I can always change the title of the video because I don't know what to call them. I have also gone through and paired them up. So I've already used 2 pages from the kit to make my prototype, and I'm going to save that to show you a bit later down the track. I'm just going to take these first 2 pages that I've got paired up and pop the rest aside. So I've chosen out just randomly. I've paired them up deliberately, but this was just happened to be the one on top, so it's the one I'm going to work with. It's got lovely floral on this side, and then this side is a lot plainer. And when I say plain, it's not plain at all, but plainer. And this is going to be the writing side. So there is writing space still within these. And I've put them back to back like so. So my first step is to fold the writing one into the center. So the pattern goes on the inside. So you've got white on the outside when you fold it. And I'm going to give these a good crease. Shift that one out from underneath for a moment, giving it a nice sharp crease. Okay, and then the other page, the one that's more decorative, I'm going to fold with the pattern on the outside, like so. So these are actually not too difficult to make. You know, I didn't know when I was making my prototype whether it was going to be a tricky project or not. I don't think it's terribly tricky. I did run into a couple of little issues, which was more my not looking at what was on the paper before I began. Yeah, I know, silly thing. So making sure I've got them the right way up. And I'm just sitting them together so the 2 white sides are together, and I've opened up the front flap here. And I'm trying to remember, I made the prototype yesterday, so already I'm trying to remember which way around. I don't think it matters. So I think I'm going to start with this one. So we want to make an envelope flap is what we're doing. So this side is going to be an envelope. So I'm going to just eyeball a certain distance, what I think would be appropriate. Now what I ran into trouble with the first one I did is that there was a bird on the edge of the page. So when I folded the envelope flap, I ended up cutting the bird's head in half. So do be aware of what's on the page. You know, if you've got any body parts or animals or something that you don't want to, you know, fold and contort in weird ways, then you might want to do it a little differently. And so in my prototype, I worked out how to get around that. So we will look at that once we've made this my original idea without the adjustment I then made. So it is something that has lots of ways you can customize it and switch it up, alter it. So I'm drawing around this wee envelope template I've got here. Oops, and I let it slip. Don't let it slip. Here we go. I can rub it out. I'll grab my rubber while I think about it. because I'm going to need that. So to make this template, all I did was took a piece of paper, the width of what this is. I folded it loosely like this. And then I just took my scissors and cut a curve. And I actually really loved the curve that I got. So I traced around that and turned it into a cardboard template just from a cat food box. Because I really liked how the curve turned out. And I thought, well, why risk making one that's not so good? I'll just make a template. So that's how I got my template. So you can make whatever sort of curve that you want. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. It just has to be pleasing. You know, you could go straight across. You don't need to make it curvy. But I do rather like the wee curvy aspect. And it just adds a little bit of elegance and interest. So I'm just cutting around that curve. Like so. And now I'm just going to go in with my eraser here and get rid of that pencil line. Like so. And we can pop our pencil away. Right, so just making sure I've got the page the right way up now. I'm going to sit it back in there. And so we've got an envelope flap in here. And so I want to make sure this is lined up really nicely in the center. And I want to fold this side in now so that it fits under that flap. So this is probably the trickiest little bit, just making sure that it's, actually if I line it up there and do it that way, that probably works. About there. Trying to make sure it's straight. And now I'm going to double check that it fits okay. Yep, so we've still got, it fits nicely over there, and we've still got room to get things in and out of our little envelope. So this side of it is going to be an envelope. So what I'm going to do is, I don't need all of this turned under, so I'm going to trim some off because that gives us a fun scrap to play with later on in collage or however we want to play with it, whatever we want to make with it. So I'm just going to trim it down a bit. It doesn't really need to be straight either because it's not going to be seen. Here we go. Now I am going to ink this before I do anything else, just along this edge here. Because it's a lot easier while it's loose rather than when it's glued in. Okay. So we've got our edge there. Now the other thing I'm going to do is a closure for this envelope. You can do it lots of different ways. You could put a little circle here or something for it to tuck under. But what I'm going to do, or am I going to do that with this one? On my prototype I put a magnet. Actually no, I'm going to do this one different. I'm not going to use a magnet on this one. I am just going to glue this flap down. I think if I wanted to put a magnet on, I would have left that extra bit of paper on. But I took it off, so I'm just going to glue this one. Glue that down, and that's going to strengthen the top of our envelope where we put things in and out. Okay. So now I'm going to line this up again in the middle, and we're going to glue. So I'm just going to make sure it sits nice and tight in that center. I'm going to grab my tacky glue and I'm going to glue down the sides. And I'm also going to glue along this long edge. Not completely necessary because it is going to be sewn into a signature, but I just like how it holds everything a bit neater and there's less kind of page or paper puckering that goes on. So just keeping it nice and tight in that crease and then gluing it shut. And I didn't get quite enough glue at the top edge there. Now I've probably got too much. Yep. Too much or not enough. Okay, so we have made the front of our journal page, so that will go into a signature as an envelope. And for here, I'm going to do a circle closure, I think. Just looking for a paper that's kind of a bit thicker. Here's a cover off a bit of sheet music. It's got music on the inside. So maybe a bit of that would work well. It's just got that little bit more thickness than, you know, a regular book page or even sheet music. Right, so I'm just going to take, actually I'm going to do it upside down so I can see that I'm getting a nice, interesting portion. Like that. Going to first close my glue. Right. Ink around our wee circle here. And I'm going to ink along this curved edge here. You don't have to ink, and I reckon this paper would look really pretty if it was inked in pink. I think that would suit it beautifully, but I'm just using Vintage Photo here, my go-to. Right, so I can, you know, I'll be inking the rest of it, but I don't need to do it right now. And I'm going to just glue it about there, I think. I like to give them a fair amount of glue to make sure they really anchor, because they need to hold. And it's just a loose hold, like, you know, hold it shut, but it doesn't need to like clamp it shut. And without gluing our flap into it. Okay, gonna ink the inside of this, inside edge. Now if you don't like that white, then go ahead and treat it however you like. You could cover it in a scrap of paper, you could stamp on it, you could stencil it, however you like. Do what makes you happy. But that's the first half of our signature page. And if you've got any misaligned bits at the top or bottom or anything, you can just trim them off at this stage now that it's glued together. This one's not too bad. There's a little overhang in a couple of spots, but this is where the inking really helps to disguise that and becomes invisible. Okay. So, isn't that cute? And for this side, we simply do the same thing. So we end up with a signature page that is 2 envelopes plus writing space on this side. And you could also write in here if you wanted, or you could decorate it up further. I'm just having trouble decorating it further because I think they're so pretty as they are. You know, maybe a little label or something would be quite sufficient. Now these are going to be on opposite sides of a signature, so the amount that you fold up does not have to be the same. And again, watching out for what's on your paper as to whether you want to lose any of that detail or not. Or if you want to cut off a bird's beak or something, for example. Yeah, just be aware of that and have a think about it. So this side, I'm going to... I didn't fold it as deep, and that's quite all right. Oops. So again, cutting around my template. So I didn't line that up very evenly. Doesn't matter. On my prototype, I did actually use a bit of lace, so you can add lace or fabric as well. Any of your typical decorating that you would like to do. But I think for me it's most important to show you this construction of it for a start, so that you know how to make it for yourself. And then the decorating is you just do whatever style or additions that you prefer, that you've got in your stash that lends it to whatever project you're using, making, not using. Here we go. And any pencil I've missed will be covered by the ink, so pretty. These papers are pretty, pretty, pretty. Really lovely. So it comes together fairly quickly. You can probably see it's not taking too long. And if you're not an inker, if you don't ink, well, that's going to be even quicker. I definitely recommend the template because that just makes that quicker as well. Particularly if you come up with something that you love, why not use it, make a template and reuse it. Okay, so now I'm going to fold this bit under. A wee bit deeper. Think about there. Just trying to make sure I've got it folded straight. Right, and yes, that works well. It folds up there. So again, I'm going to ink this edge. Now I will put a magnet on this side just so you can see the magnet. I've got tiny, tiny little magnets, which are super cute. And I've had them for months but never used them, and couldn't quite sort of... I tried to use them once and it failed. My method was not great, and I kind of been a bit shy about trying again. But my prototype, it worked fine, even though I didn't do it ideal way. So these are my magnets, and there's 98 in this. Like, it's smaller than my pinky finger. So they're tiny. So I'm going to grab 2 of those. That's 1, 2, and the frame of my desk is metal, so I just attach them to the frame of my desk, and then I know where they are. So I'm going to, if I can get the paper underneath, glue this up with glue stick. going to put my magnet, one of my magnets, trying to get them apart. That's the hardest part sometimes, I think. And I'm going to roughly go about there. And I'm just going to add a bit of tacky glue as well. Oops, it's sticking to the nozzle of my glue. That's something I didn't anticipate. Here we go, just a little bit. I'm going to fold that down. So it's got just a very small bump there where the magnet is now enclosed. And now I'm going to take my other magnet and find where that magnet is and let it stick itself just for now. And then I'm going to take a bit of washi tape, a washi tape that you like with the digital, whatever you're working with. You might be using something other than a digital, but you know, take something that coordinates. And I'm using this vintage ticket washi tape, and I actually want the second ticket that's along. Oops. Do I want that first one? I don't think I do. I think I just want this first one. The second one. So I'm just going to pop that back on the roll, and we'll use that somewhere else. Here we go. And I'm going to put a bit of glue stick on this washi tape. It's a pretty good quality one, but we're holding a magnet, so we just want to make sure that we hold that magnet in place. So I'm going to put the magnet in the middle. Oops. I'm going to let it stick itself back on top, and then we're going to close the flap and seal it in there. Okay, and we've got a little bit of overhang on the washi tape, so we're going to trim that off. I don't know if this is the right way to do magnets, but this is the way that I'm doing it. It is probably not the right way, not the way to do it at all, but it seems to be working for me. So until it doesn't, bearing in mind this is only my second time using little magnets, and one of them, actually I put the other magnet on this morning, so it's only twice, and both today. Yeah, so if you've got a better way of doing it, then let me know. So that's going to hold that closed, and it's just a really gentle closure. It's not like a full-on suck it in, hold it closed forever, can't get it open type thing. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and do the gluing in the middle as well on this side, just again to support the structure of the page, eliminate any sort of buckling of the paper, that sort of thing. And the two edges, and then close it up, glue it down. Oops, bit of excess glue seeping out. Now I have got a few little areas where it's not lined up properly, so I'm just going to trim off those. And going to grab my ink, of course. ink around, and there we go. Just give it a bit of a flatten out. We have a signature page. Gosh, I'm getting a bit warm. I'm just going to pull my sleeves up for a moment. A signature page that has writing but also has envelopes with closures, like so. So that's my original idea, was to take 2 digitals and turn it into a page to go in a signature in a journal with envelopes, but still retaining some writing space. I mean, how pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? So now that we've done that, let's do my variation, which was born through the bird's beak issue, shall we say. Right. So again, 2 digitals. Now see I've left a bit of white along the top there. So this is the outside page, the decorative, more decorative one. So folding the white into the middle. And then this one, the more writable one, we're folding the pattern into the middle so the white's on the outside. So exactly the same principle. Right. Now for this one we're doing an envelope on one side only, so you can choose whether you want to do the envelope on the front or the back. Either is fine, it's maker's choice. So this one I'm going to fold in, and it doesn't really matter whether you fold this one in first or your envelope flap first. Either way, you just still got to make sure that they both work together. And then our envelope flap on the outside. And this is where what's on the paper might dictate which way you go. So if I had a bird beak, for this example, on this side, then I would choose this side not to be the envelope. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So this is our envelope flap. Now I think that's probably not deep enough for my template. No, it's not. So I'm just going to do what I did originally. So I'm going to take that, fold it loosely together. I don't want to crease this. I just want to fold it in half loosely. Align the edges like so. Kind of hold it in the middle there. And I'm just going to cut a curvy top. Oops. Like so. And that's all I did to when I created that template. And so you end up with this lovely, you know, not perfect, but interesting and fun little flap. And doesn't that look pretty against this paper? Just that little detail. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this. I'm not going to fully construct it because I think, you know, I've shown you how to glue it together, how it all works together, and it's not super complicated. So I'll save all the finishing bits because I want to make sure I show you the variation. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to glue it in, and then I'll worry about the finishing of the envelope later. Sorry, I'm just having trouble seeing my crease. Make sure it's nice in there. I haven't glued this down. I'm just going to tacky glue this just for ease and speed. And I'm not going to trim any off, again, just for speed's sake. and it's not a huge flap, so that's fine. I'll glue that down and glue again on the 3 sides. I forgot to shut the fire down before I came over to my desk to start recording, so it's getting quite nice and toasty in here, which is good because before I started the video I was feeling really cold because the fire had died down quite a bit, and it's like it's one way or the other at the moment. It's a beautiful day outside though, it's just cold, and there's supposed to be a big southerly change coming this afternoon or this evening, with possible thunder and hail and stuff, so kind of waiting for the loss of that sunshine that's out there. Okay, so there we have our envelope at the front. You can choose which way do you close it. Now on my prototype I did the magnet and I just slipped some washi tape in underneath here rather than putting it under the paper because I didn't think about it in time. So I will still choose which way I want to close that, whether I use like a circle or a magnet. You can still do either. Now to the other side, which is the variation. Just a fun little variation. Okay, so this side we are going to fold a flap again, like so. And this side is going to fold and, trying to think which way around, fold up under there as well. So similar to the envelope, very, very similar this stage. So think about there. Now I just need to fold it. Trying to do it so you guys can see is a little tricky, I'm finding. Did not anticipate that when I was making it my prototype. I wasn't having to worry about whether anybody could see what I was doing or not. Okay, so what we've got, sorry, this way round because it's at the back, is we've got, looks like it could be an envelope, and it could be, but we're not making it an envelope. We are doing something different. For this one, I like to leave it straight. I don't know why, just because I chose to do it straight. You don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. You can make it the same shape as this, and that would look really lovely. Where's my glue stick? Here it is. So this one I'm going to glue shut. That's the inside one. And you don't even have to, like you could just trim this off and not have it folded under. But I like it folded under. It just helps decorate. You'll see what I mean in a moment. That's not quite straight there, so I'm just going to snip that. I hand cut these, you know, the white border that you get after printing. I hand cut all the white off, so, you know, they're not straight and perfect. That's why I've still got little overhangs in places. Handmade, that's what we're after, handmade. Okay, so we need a little closure on here. So again, I think I'm going to just do the music paper. That one's got some pen, some blue biro, so not so fussed on the blue biro, I don't think. No, not that bit. Here we go. This is another bit of the same cover. I'm going to ink that up. And you could decorate these circles, you know, you could layer it up and make it a cute little cluster. I haven't looked at what in the ephemera that comes with the kit might suit. We could do that. I'm going to put glue on here. So I haven't inked anything here because these aren't going to be glued shut. They're going to be openable. Making sure I'm clear of the glue so I don't glue my flap down. There we go. It's all good. So what we have here is we have writing space. So it's like a hidden little writing space that tucks up, all like it's as if it's an envelope, but it's not an envelope because you open it up and you have writing space. Now I've chosen to not leave it completely white, so I've got this stencil here. I'm going to grab out my 2 inks that I've chosen for this that I feel go with the papers. You could do whatever colour you like, or you wouldn't even have to, you know, ink or stencil if you don't want to. So I'm using Crisp Cantaloupe and the Stampin' Up ink as one of my inks, which is the darker of the two, and I've got this lovely floral bit happening here. So I'm going to pop it down, and with the darker one I'm just going to hit spots with it. I'm not going to go over the whole thing with the darker ink. Just want to add a bit of interest by not using just a single shade. So, you know, having some darker bits in there, just random. Okay, and then I'm going to use Spun Sugar Distress Ink as my other colour, which is a very pale pink. And just go over the whole thing with the spun sugar. So you'll get a lovely two-tone effect. From your stencil or stenciling. Isn't that pretty? I love that. And then I'm going to just turn it over and do the same thing in the opposite corner. So back to the, and it doesn't matter which one you use first, you can use the darker one first or second. Just does not matter. So there's the darker one. So I'm just going to close that up so it doesn't dry out in this heat. Oops, take the cat fur off my sponge. Make sure that it doesn't move on me. And I just love the beautiful design, but also that you can write over top of it. Like, it doesn't interfere with writing space, but it adds decoration. So there we go, we have stenciled, so it's not just plain white, it has some interest, and it closes up, and of course I need to ink around everything and add the closure over here, and that is your signature page. So that's the variation, and here's our original with the 2 sides of that are both envelopes with 2 different closures. So I just wanted to show you the different closures. You might have a different way of closing them. You might choose not to have a closure at all. So that's the original. This is the variation. Now you could also do a variation where both sides were opening like this for hidden writing space. I'm sure there's other variations that you can do too. My brain is not telling me of any right at this point in time. But if you have thought of something that could vary it, let me know. So there's those 2. And then this is my prototype here. So this is where I ran into an issue because I folded it and I folded it directly through the bird's eye, which wasn't so wonderful. I did not like that effect. So I ended up with a crease. So over the crease I put some lace to hide the crease on this side because it was more noticeable with less patterning. And then I just did this little closure here that tucks under the lace. And all that is 2 circles punched like I did here, but then I cut the middle out, so it just left me with a strip with rounded edges. And I cut 2 of them and I glued them back to back around the edge of that strip. And I can see I haven't actually finished inking this one. So that's our opening one. And I glued, to support this crease here, I glued the bit I trimmed off from here. I glued it on the inside as extra decoration, so that's something else you can do. So that was my unplanned variation because I folded it in the wrong place. And then here's our envelope side with the washi tape and the magnet with our envelope in there. So super fun. I love how they look. I absolutely adore how they look. Lots of possibilities I feel too, and just something a little bit different to pop into a signature and make it, you know, whatever width. You can see all 3 of these are different widths, which I think is quite funny. But super fun. I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope you enjoyed seeing these digitals from Rach and Bella Crafts. I think they're absolutely beautiful. All the links for Rach and Bella Crafts will be down in the description box. Go along, have a look at her Etsy and check out these digitals because they really are lovely. There's also another video where I showed through the digitals themselves. It's just a short video where I flip through the pages. So go take a look at that as well. So there we go, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for joining me. Take care and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.